today I thought I would do a little Q&A sesh. I asked y'all on my Instagram stories if you had any questions for me, and I got a few good ones. Before we jump into the Q&A though, I do want to share a little plug, something super exciting. If you watched one of my previous vlogs, you might remember I went on a Pinterest rant about how much I love Pinterest, and not long after that, they actually reached out to me to work with them, and it was just by chance. Like, they hadn't even seen my video. I was so freaking excited. I wanted to talk about one of their new features really quickly. They released their new and improved skin tone ranges feature, which allows you to look for beauty and makeup searches and filter it by skin tone range. So you can find looks that are more tailored to you. It's really easy to use. You just type in your makeup or beauty query and then select one of the 4 skin tone ranges that they have available, and that's it. I really like using the feature to find color schemes that work with my skin tone. So I think it's really cool that Pinterest is taking another step towards inclusivity, and it's not meant to be a divisive tool in any way. Of course, if you want to look for a makeup look that's outside of your skin tone range, that's totally chill too. If you need ideas for makeup looks, definitely try out the skin tone ranges feature and see how you like it. Okay, with that said, we can move on to the questions now. How are you always so happy and positive? I'm definitely not always happy and positive. I don't even know if I would consider myself a happy person. Maybe like hopeful, optimistic, because I do think everything will work itself out in the end. I hope we all know by now that like social media has a happy filter over it. Like, people generally, for the most part, share their happy and joyous moments. And I'm not saying I've been hiding those moments of negativity or sadness, because I have talked about it, but when I'm in a sad or low moment, I'm definitely not thinking about really posting or sharing or vlogging, because I'm just trying to be in that moment and get over that moment. Usually if I'm really sad, I just don't have the energy to vlog at the same time. I know like sometimes I can do it, other times I can't. It's just really based off of how I feel, but just know that like happy moments come after knowing sad moments and vice versa, you know? So I really do believe you need a balance of both to understand and appreciate the other. So if you see a happy Instagram post, just know that there's a whole other story behind it. I think when you set that expectation that everyone on the internet is always happy all the time, you set yourself up for disappointment, because that's not always the case. I've definitely learned not to put people on a pedestal that I know only through social media, because then you meet them one day in person and you realize they're a real person with complexities. You're kind of in for a shock. I guess I can speak to how I do maintain that happiness and positivity. Maybe that's more of what you're asking. It's really hard when you can't like talk back and forth, but for me it is, again, that belief that everything will work out in the end. And when I say everything will work out in the end, it doesn't always mean that you'll get what you wanted, but you'll probably get what you needed, and that's probably a learning experience. So for me, it's just trying to see like the bright side of everything, and also just being appreciative and grateful of everything that I have in my life. I know that I'm very extremely lucky. I even have like a lucky tattoo. I feel really blessed. I have a lot to be thankful for. I'm in a very privileged space. Just trying to remember that and focus on that really helps. Do you want to get married and have kids one day? I definitely want to get married and have kids one day. Like I actually had a really vivid dream once. It was really scary. I mean, it wasn't scary, but I dreamt that I was like holding my daughter, and like I could feel the love that was there, and oh my god, I'm getting chills just talking about it because it just felt so real in that dream. But yeah, I would love to get married and have kids one day. Do you identify with the moon, sun, or stars the most, personality / aesthetic wise? This is such an interesting question, and it really appeals to my like right side of the brain. I actually have a crescent moon tattoo right here, and so I think the obvious answer is the moon, or just in general the nighttime, because I love the stars too, but they're just harder to see at night. I kind of see symbols and connections in everything, and for me the sun is just like super bright and happy, exuberant, and I don't feel like I'm that way all the time. I think I relate more to the moon. I also am such a night owl. I feel like I get really reflective at night, and that's when I feel like you're most vulnerable and most true to yourself. And I also love the moon's effects on the ocean's waves and tides, and I love the ocean too, so it all just kind of comes together for me really well. I think personality / aesthetic wise, I relate more to the moon, but I don't know. I don't know if my aesthetic or content really reflects that. I don't know. Y'all can let me know. When was your last relationship, and do you have a boyfriend? I don't currently have a boyfriend, and my last relationship was also my first relationship, which was a really long time ago. It was like back in college. I have just never really prioritized dating. I think there was a lot that I wanted to do and just focus on myself. Like, I've been able to learn a lot about myself over the years, but now I think I'm in a good place where I do want to start dating, but we're also in a pandemic. So I love that timing for me. That's great. How do you stay active during this current situation? So back in March and April, I definitely worked out every day. I was doing like Chloe Ting workout videos and other videos on YouTube, but I've definitely fallen off of that and have not worked out in a while. I'll be honest. The most activity that I get is walking Cody, like when I take him out for walks and stuff. But I did recently just purchase a jump rope, so I think I'm gonna start jumping rope soon. I hear it's great for cardio, and I really hate cardio, so I think maybe jump roping might be better for me. I think I've had it for a week or two now, and I still haven't really done anything with it. But yeah, staying active has been one of my goals this year, and it was pretty much shot with the pandemic and everything. So yeah, it's definitely one of my priorities, but I'm just kind of dreading it. Tips on self-confidence or being comfortable with yourself. There's so many different ways to answer this question because it's different for every situation. Like, how you build confidence in the workplace versus school versus social circles is so different. So I'm gonna try and like generalize as much as I can so that it's applicable to every area, I guess. I know for me, I feel the most confident and comfortable when I feel good on the inside. That sounds so, I feel like that sounds like such a basic answer. What that means for each person could be totally different. Like, some people feel good after a workout, after they finish reading a book, if they are helping a friend. There's just so many ways, different ways to feel good and feel confident about yourself, and you just kind of have to figure out what that is for you. I think maybe people also struggle with confidence because they're concerned with how people are perceiving them, and by people I mean me. I mean, I'm sure it applies to a bunch of people too, but like, I'm speaking from my own experience. I've definitely had moments where I walk into a room and I'm just so like self-conscious about what people are thinking of me. And if you're worried about what others are thinking of you, like, it sounds so cliche, but it really doesn't matter, because I realized when you're in a good and confident place, you're not making negative comments towards someone. You're not telling someone about like how you're judging them, because you're not judging them. So confidence goes up and down, right? It varies. It's really hard to maintain confidence all the time. Like, I admire those people. So for me, when I was in a good and confident place, I was less judgmental. I wasn't like being negative. I wasn't, you know, just trying to like have a bad attitude. So if you're afraid of someone saying something about you or saying something to you, just know that like it's more of a reflection on them than you. What's your MBTI? So if you don't know what MBTI is, it's the Myers-Briggs personality test. I actually don't know what TI stands for in that MBTI, but it is the Myers-Briggs thing. I am an INFP. I've been an INFP pretty consistently, and the last time I read it and looked at the description, I related to it pretty well, but I don't know if I have changed. And to be honest, I don't want to retake the test because I feel so tied to the INFP, you know? So I feel like even if I retake the test, I would be biased in some way. And when it comes to like personality tests, like, I do just take it with a grain of salt. It's just another way to like reflect on yourself, you know? With that said though, I actually would be really curious to know what all of your Myers-Briggs personalities are, because I'm always interested in like, do we attract opposites? Do we attract similar people into our lives, or what? So if you know it, like, let me know what yours is. Favorite part / something you learned from spending time with yourself at home. This year has been such a blur. I can't even tell you what I learned back in March or April unless you asked me very specific questions. It's just really hard for me to like look back at that time. But for right now, I can tell you what I've learned about myself is, it's strange because it kind of contradicts itself. Like, I've learned how comfortable I am being by myself, but I've also learned how much I do love and enjoy social interaction, and I really do miss that. This year has really changed a lot for me, not just in how I view myself, but how I view the world too, and I've been more recently leaning really heavily into my spirituality and just learning more about that. I don't talk about it a lot, but I do believe in God, and I've been really calling on that because this year has been really tough. I think for the first 5 months I was doing pretty well, like handling it as best as I could and being optimistic about everything. But once August came around, I just crashed and burned, and like the heaviness of everything just kind of like squashed me. I've felt emotions like at an intensity that I've never felt before, and I've just been recognizing that like this is completely, I don't even remember what your question was. Am I even answering it? I don't. Oh, what I learned about myself. This is just so completely new, and I think, you know, the first few months I really thought this was gonna go away and it was gonna pass and it was gonna be solved. But the moment I acknowledged like, no, this is the new normal and we're not on pause anymore, life is still going, I think that's when it really hit me. A bunch of other things happened that really affected me too, so yeah. This is just life. Like, you'll go through ups and downs over and over and over again, and you'll come back stronger each time, kind of thing. So I think one thing I learned is like, you know, the moment I thought I knew myself and was so sure of myself, like, no, lots more learning, lots more growing to do. It's awesome, it's humbling, but it also means that like I'm not stagnant. Don't get me wrong, it's really hard, but I would rather grow than not. So, how does being a social media influencer affect your mental health? I think I've been very conscious of my consumption of social media. I learned very early on not to compare myself to other people. It just never works out, you know? And so I was, you know, I would say I was pretty lucky in that area. I don't know if this is going to be relatable at all, but the way that social media does affect my mental health is when it comes to like my content and the numbers, the stats, and how it affects the type of work that I'm able to get. Because I've always loved social media as a creative outlet, and I really wanted to pursue it as a career because I wanted to be able to be myself. But now I find that if I'm being myself and I'm not getting any work from it, it really makes you question who you are. But anytime I get down that rabbit hole, I just tell myself like, I would rather be myself and stick to who I am than have to compromise and do things not in my nature just to get attention from a brand. Like, that just doesn't feel genuine to me. I feel like I've made, you know, my fair share of mistakes in the past where maybe I like compromised a little bit, but I do really try to be myself so that I have no regrets of not being myself and putting out content and expressing myself the way that I want to. So I'm kind of always having that conversation in my head. I will say I've had more social anxiety in the last month or so when it comes to posting and being vocal on social media about social justice issues. Like that was pretty tough for me because like I do care about those issues, but speaking out so publicly about them is very, like, it's very scary, especially now when we live in we're living very fast right now. I feel like we're constantly consuming, looking for new things, and new articles come up all the time, and you really don't know what is fake news or not. It's just really interesting to me too because social media was always that place where I could go and post and be creative and kind of step away from like the harsh realities of the world. It was an outlet, it was a creative outlet. But now social media has grown to pretty much encompass everything. Your life is so intertwined with the internet. And I always thought it was weird when I would see news reports on TV start like quoting tweets as sources, because that's opinion. It was opinion at the time. I mean, now I get that like articles are being posted on Twitter and stuff, but like early days it was like opinion. No one really made me feel like I had to speak up. It was kind of pressure that I put on myself because it is something that I care about. And I did feel sometimes like if I didn't like voice it and if I didn't show it on the internet, then it means it's not something that I care about, which isn't true. And I don't want to get to a point where I'm just posting things to validate or to virtue signal or to just have as receipts. I don't ever want to get to that point. But yeah, that was a new form of like social anxiety that I got from social media that I never could have imagined or expected. I did have to take a step back from how much I was consuming on social media. Like, I was on Instagram and TikTok a lot for like a good week or two. And yeah, I've had to slow that down because it was really taking a toll on my mental health, just seeing what was going on in the world and feeling so hopeless and helpless about it. It was just so crippling. And so I realized that I have to be a lot more careful about that. Social media is no longer a place for just lighthearted fun. It's become a tool for change, which is great for sure. But like, I have to make that shift in thinking. Along with my makeup and beauty posts from people, I'm also going to see very serious topics, and so I have to get myself into that mindset, if that makes sense. I actually did not realize this shift so much. Like, I've never vocalized it until this video. But yeah, like, making some good realizations here. So thanks for the questions. Who/what keeps motivating you to keep on going? My family definitely motivates me to keep on going, and not that they like really encourage and motivate me directly, but indirectly they do. Just in that I want to be able to provide security and stability for them so that they can have a free life to do whatever they want. I want freedom to do what I want to do and like be happy about it, whether it is just work. Like, I want to feel free in all areas of my life and not feel like I have to continue working this cogwheel, which is so interesting because I am just working the cogwheel. I was listening to a podcast from Nina and Dayan. If you know them on YouTube and Instagram, it was their podcast episode on fashion, and Nina said something like, you have to know the rules to break the rules. And that is true in every area of life. In order to disrupt and change the industry, any industry, society, you kind of have to know how to play by the rules in order to know where you can break them. I mean, look at the people who are billionaires, who run our government. Like, they know the rules and they know how to break them. Even something as stupid as like getting the most out of your taxes. Like, you know the rules, so you know how to like work it to your benefit. I'm not encouraging tax evasion or anything like that. Those are two completely different things. Like, I want to be able to prove that you can still be yourself and be kind and be successful in the world and have freedom. Like, the dream, right? Anyway, those are all the questions I'm gonna answer for today. Was this really long? I think this was really long. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope I kept you company while you were doing whatever you needed to do. This was really nice for me to just be able to sit and think out loud with you. I would just love to have these conversations in person one day. I feel like that would really mean much more. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you want to see more Q&As in the future. It's getting super hot in this room, so I'm gonna sign off and turn on the AC. I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!